Blessings, everyone. Welcome back to Kyle's Cavern. It's great to have you guys here. Sorry about the weird angle. I can't find my tripod anywhere, so I am using my laptop to prop you guys up. But if you can't tell by the title of this video, we are going to be talking about the Will-O-Wisp, or the ghost orb. This entity, this spirit, has so many different names. But before we get deeper into the video, I would like to welcome all the new subscribers. Welcome to Kyle's Cavern. Oh, sorry, that's the computer. Welcome to Kyle's Cavern. We would love to have you here. Please join us. This is a safe space for people who are learning about growing their spiritual journey. As I do this channel myself, I am expanding my own knowledge on the other side, the spiritual world. So if you want to join us, please feel free. We would love to have you. But without further ado, let's hop into the video of the Will-O-Wisp, or the ghost orb. The Will-O-Wisp has so many different names. We have the Will-O-Wisp, we have the Hobbs Lantern, we also have the Forest Wisp, we also have the original name Will-O-Wisp, and in Louisiana, they're called the Fufule. The Will-O-Wisp has always been something, a spirit seen all throughout the South, from Mississippi to Louisiana. These spirits, especially with all the history within the southern locations, I can definitely see why some people would still see a Will-O-Wisp in the South, and probably in the deep parts of the marshes or the swamps. I can see just how the Will-O-Wisp has tied to all of us throughout history, not just, one location, but everyone has had a story or sighting of the Will-O-Wisp. You will normally see the Will-O-Wisp as a flaming blue orb. Now, if you guys have ever remembered, watching The Haunted Mansion and also the movie Brave, those two films will, they mention, or you may see a ghost orb or a fufule or a Will-O-Wisp. It's almost like a flaming ball, blue ball that's, that's just slightly just moving around. Also, I think, I will throw this in there too. If you guys remember, if you guys have seen Sabrina, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, she kind of uses a blue flame, or almost looks like a Will-O-Wisp, as she guides her way through the series sometimes. So, and I think that kind of ties into her working with the dead and being tied with the dead and resurrection and all that good stuff, which we're going to talk a little bit more about that with the Will-O-Wisp. The location for the Will-O-Wisp is worldwide. They're mostly found in cemeteries, marshes, bogs, and also in the forest. So you will find them usually in those locations. Now, science has discovered or tried to, figure out what the Will-O-Wisp is for centuries, for years, have tried to discover and figure out what the fufule is. I think personally, everything is tied to, even the story about the Will-O-Wisp is always tied to a misfortune at the end, or death at the end of traveling the trail of the Will-O-Wisps. So I just think that if people are saying that it's just gases being released from decay, I think that we're probably seeing those who are able to see the Will-O-Wisp, I feel like they're seeing soul plasma leaving, or soul plasma being released. Energies we know never dies. So I think that's what we're seeing, is the energy, the plasmic spirit. Swamp areas were almost like the dense forest. And that's how I can definitely see how they can definitely survive underneath that pressure, underneath that probably humidity, heat, all that. I do feel like the Will-O-Wisp is a guardian spirit of the forest, the swamps, the cemeteries. And some stories of some followers or some people finding the Will-O-Wisp trail usually does not always end in misfortune, but it is something to be concerned about, because if we're seeing them in cemeteries, we're seeing them in almost like places where there's a lot of death and decay, then that can kind of be a sign of that's like a spirit locate. Veil is thin, and the ley lines are kind of like teetering. The veil is just thin in those areas and very like potent and dense. And so yes, many of people have tried to, you know, capture, touch the fufule. Usually it's a cold or cooling flame, blue flame. Of course, I'll put many pictures up so you guys can give an example. I can show you guys examples of what a will-o-wisp or a fufule would look like in the forest. But just key of note, if you guys, so it said that only seers, I'm sorry if you guys see me looking down, I got my notes here. It said that only seers can see fufule, which I do think that is true. Everyone is a little psychic on a different level. Being said, do not go and out your way to purposely look for the will-o-wisp or the fufule and try to follow them. I think that's not a good idea. These spirits, these entities, their humor, their life on the other side is totally different from us. And I think that if we're not mindful and careful of the research that we're getting into, especially if you're an individual who does not really have good interest in the forest, or like you don't have a lot of good intentions with the forest and the woods and all that type of stuff, and you're, you know, that energy can be very wild for an individual who, you know, doesn't really have any, you know, concern with elemental spirits that live within the forest, the rivers, even the mountains, the deserts. There's so many different entities that live across the globe. You'll be a lot more relaxed and you won't be living in fear once you get to understand these spirits, because they are like people. And I think if we're ever going to be chopping on their territory, especially not just will-o-wisps live in the forest. We have the nymphs, the fairies, we have the wendigo, we have so many different energies and spirits and cryptids that live within the forest, that I think when we do enter their space, there has to be a level of respect. Please be safe if you guys are going in the woods, foraging in the woods. Don't, if you guys hear a whisper of your voice, that's been a Southern thing in general. Walking in the forest, or even at night, if you hear your name or if you hear a whistling, do not engage in it. Keep walking, especially if you don't even know where it's coming from. Like, don't go seeking it out. Don't go trying to figure out who's calling my name. If there's no one there, just keep moving and just, you know, stay on your path. And yeah, just ignore it, basically. It's said that in European folklore that a will-o-wisp is formed when it's a soul trapped into purgatory. It's said that the devil gave these spirits a piece of coal to keep them moving, to keep them going, to keep their fire lit and warm. So it's said that, yes, sometimes that these spirits may have a malevolence to them, because they're kind of tricky. They're almost like, they kind of dance between the realms with the fae and with the nymphs. They're kind of like in the pixies, they're kind of like in that same realm with a lot of other cryptids as well, and creatures as well. And just like the fae, they can be very tricky, because the fae, they have, usually in spirituality, things are seen through a mirrored image. So what we experience on this side, as far as humor, love, usually the things that we experience on this side is going to be a little bit different and mirrored different than how when we open the veil, when we contact our spirit guides, our ancestors. If we're talking about at least elemental spirits and spirits that are not part of our ancestry, a little bit like, you know, if you fall, like, you know, you probably feel like if you fall in a forest, you probably feel like there's going to be like, or you probably hear like something almost subconsciously laughing at you. Like, it's just like those little things, kind of just be like, okay, like the fae kind of having like this time and just laughing. So just like it happens. They have a very dark sense of humor. The fae, the will-o-wisp, their sense of humor is different. Just different to ours, from this side, on the physical to the spiritual. So I think for me as an individual, I have definitely seen spirit. I have definitely seen different, especially being out in the forest, I've seen like interesting looking insects that I'm like, that looks kind of humanoid. Just as a child, used to see entities like shadowy figures kind of like moving across, you know, thresholds and like staying in one place and then like moving around. So like I said, if you're able to see the will-o-wisp, you are a seer. And that is something, I think that's a good calling. It is something to, if you are called to work within your seer energy, then, or just been called to spirit, you definitely should do a little bit more research on how to protect yourself and guard yourself spiritually, orally, so that when you enter the veil, when you cross over into the veil or lift the veil, there is a little bit more safety and knowledge going in these spaces, because you do need to have a little bit of knowledge. There have been stories of people disrespecting ghosts and spirits while they're doing ghost hunts or ghost things, and people get hurt. So it's not something to really mess around with. There have been the Will-O-Wisp or the Fae, because some people like to tie the Will-O-Wisp to the Fae. There have been stories of the Fae blessing people. So it's not always about kidnapping. It's not always about dying. I think, like I said, it all depends on how you are as an individual, and how you come to these sacred spaces and these nature spaces. I think the intent that we bring to these spaces definitely leaves an impact on the energy of the spirit of place, which I do talk about a lot on this channel, the spirit of place. So usually, even if you go to Scotland, just a little bit of information about the Fae, but if you go to Scotland, the hawthorn tree, you will usually see a hawthorn tree in a field that's like, leaning over or looks dead. But farmers and people who live in Scotland do not touch they don't touch the hawthorn tree at all, because of the folk magic around the plant, and also just the spirits that live on the land of Scotland. So it is something that different people around the world keep in mind when it comes to nature spirits. Still do tend to respect their space and their nature environments. Nature spirits just allowed me to really fall in love more with nature and respecting nature in all of its spaces. So I think that definitely does help. And, do your own research, and then, protection, and then you can go out and see what you can see, because it is levels to spirituality. You can't just jump into it. You can, but proper information, the proper guards and wards should be implemented before you really start to lift the veil and contact spirit. It's also been said that Dracula in Romania, I said, the Fufule or the Will-O-Wisp is worldwide, but also Dracula, it's been said that he himself have come upon the Will-O-Wisp as well. So it's been talked about for centuries. The Will-O-Wisp has been around for centuries. As far as what is it? What is the Will-O-Wisp? And I do feel like even in Romania, there is a location called the Witch's Pond, where Vlad the Impaler, or Dracula, has said to have been beheaded. And it's a sacred space where Romanian folk practitioners, they go to the Witch's Pond for ceremony. And it is a sacred space. I've only personally seen videos of people venturing or doing ghost hunts at the Witch's Pond, but it is a place that I can definitely see where someone could be able to see a Will-O-Wisp or a Fufule. In that area in Romania near the Witch's Pond, and his castle and stuff like that, I'm just like, I can definitely see in that region that he could see some Will-O-Wisps. And it's crazy that the Witch's Pond is a location as well, because we did talk about death with the Will-O-Wisp, but the Witch's Pond, no life really travels in that area. Like, nothing really grows or drinks from the water at all, like the pond itself, because it's just something about the Witch's Pond area that is very different in movies. Even though there's not usually a positive representation of magic in film, it's always dark, evil, or malevolent. Like doing your own research and then being like, oh, I remember seeing this, I remember seeing that in certain movies. It's like, I do feel like art represents life, and art is life, and I definitely feel like they kind of mirror the two, whether it's music, a movie, a painting. I feel like all of art definitely has its spiritual aspects as well. In Sweden, they said that the Will-O-Wisp is spirit or a ghost carrying a lantern who is wandering because of a moved grave. Spirits have a really hard time with change. No, like seriously. Some spirits who are either wanting to be here or stuck here, they do have the tendency to not like when their location is moved around because it throws them off as spirits. Some spirits as well don't even know that they are dead. Like if you're having home renovations and your house is kind of like, if you feel like your house is haunted, you will get a little bit of activity in your house. If the house is being destroyed, or just like anything that has to do, even like a grave can definitely make the spirit be like, what's going on? Like, like what's happening over here? So definitely, I feel like sometimes we have to leave things be for certain spirits to find their way back, because then if not, they will be wandering and wondering where my resting place is. Veil thins most of the times on and off throughout the year, but of course it thins the most around Halloween or Samhain. And with that, if there is movement around the grave and stuff like that, and they can't find their way back, that spirit could be in trouble. And even individuals who may come across that spirit, and if it becomes angry, it could, things could get a little crazy. Always respect your spirits. Always respect the spirits of the home, of any home that you may move into. Let them know that you come with love and this is your home and you're sharing your space, because there's something there. Every house, as they say, comes with fairies as well, like brownies and other pixies. So knowing that you're coming into your space, I wouldn't say going through it with sage and just saging out your entire house if you do get a new house, but definitely call in your ancestors to work alongside them and let them know that you come in peace. The spirits of the house that you're moving into, that you come in peace and you come with respect, and work with them. Positive connection. You get to know they're positive, their energies. If they're making noise, you're like, okay, they're mad, or like there's something, they need something. It's trying to get your attention, is usually because of, even attention is a need. So usually when spirits want to show themselves, there's usually a need or something that they are searching for. They don't have to show themselves if they don't have to. It's also said that the Will-O-Wisp is made by elves. So, that's something to also keep in mind too. And also to, something, because elven magic, fairy magic, they're not always small. Some people always think that the elves and fairies, they're always teeny tiny or very like Tinkerbell. But I always tell people, like, Tinkerbell was not the nicest fairy. So that gives you an entryway into how the Fae kind of are. She got used to Peter, being in Wonderland and stuff like that, and, their story connection. But then, of course, when Wendy comes in the picture, Tinkerbell is like, who is this human? And, like, why are you talking to her? And, like, she became very jealous and very protective of Peter and Wonderland in general. So, like the Fae, they don't have they're very loving, but they don't trust humans easily. Their energy is very like, because of how humans have treated the earth and how humans have treated nature in general. So like the Fae are always kind of like standoffish depending on who you are and how you come energetically, because they can read you energetically and your bloodline actually. I said that sometimes, I think I mentioned this earlier in the video, but some say that the Will-O-Wisp is also a portal. So if you try to catch one, you can vanish and you can go into a different dimension. There's been stories of not even just Will-O-Wisps leading people into new realms or dimensions. There's also the mermaid, but there are also fairies that work with decay and dying things as well. So I think that kind of ties with the Fufule as well, those specific fairies that are a little bit more, if you start seeing like dead birds or random dead birds or dead animals in the forest, that could usually mean that there's a different type of fairy in that location. So just be mindful with that, so that little guy doesn't, or that energy does not carry with you home or, anywhere else. Always go into the forest with your amulets, talismans, and protection. This, in my own personal opinions, I've said this many times in this video, but they are guardians. If these are gases released or anything like that, I think it's a purifying. They're purifying and cleansing the space. And I do think they are healers of, within their own realm, within their own way, they are healers of the land. So I talk about that structure a lot within minerals, you know, the air molecules within our air. Water is very, very, just very, very important. Just, it helps to also move spirit. Like, spirits can definitely easily travel. A candle is very easy for spirits to use, but also the one that's just like, it gives them that smooth ride and that smooth entry is water. So if you have water on your altar, you can always blow into your water to help you to open up your psychic ability, because water is very intuitive, is very psychic. Breathe over your water to allow your spirits to flow through. Yes, water is a very powerful conduit. It's not just something that's very, as we see the destruction of ocean waves and hurricanes, you know, water is a very, very powerful, destructive and healing element. But yeah, the Will-O-Wisp is connected to these locations, the cemeteries, the swamps, the bogs, the forest, on a totally high vibrational, supernatural level. And yes, they should be respected. And, you know, make sure that if you guys are going out into the forest, just be mindful. Don't go off following any trails of lights at night. Don't listen to anything calling out your name in the middle of the woods. Don't, you know, if your intuition tells you no, listen to the intuition. Not everything in the spiritual world can be, because a lot of things with humans that they try to contain, trap, or force these spirits to come out. And I think that that's not the way for real connection. Because I think that if you open up yourself to nature, into loving nature, into understanding nature, because we come from nature, I think it will allow you to have a better connection with elemental spirits and ghostly spirits as well. But I will talk, you know, in another video, I will talk about wraiths and banshees in a different video as well, because, you know, they sometimes linger around wells and, you know, locations where there's been a lot of trauma. Yes, the Will-O-Wisp is a mysterious, ghostly orb that could lead you to either good fortune or your doom. So follow with caution. I hope you guys enjoyed this video of the Will-O-Wisp. I really, really do hope that you guys are having a good week. I will be posting more this week as well on the different cryptids and creatures of the world. And I will be getting back into crystals and herbs. So please stay tuned, guys. I can't wait to do more with you guys. And I can't wait to really do a lot more adventurous things with you guys, because, you know, I want to come back to YouTube with a fresh start. So I really do appreciate everyone for being here, for tuning into this video. So if you guys liked this video, please drop a comment down below. Tell me, if you have, tell me your experience about possibly seeing a fairy or a Will-O-Wisp in your life. Like, it's I'm pretty sure I have, but, you know, it's always, you know, at the corners of your eyes where you can see them, or you can just see them there floating. So yeah, share your experience with us. We would love to, you know, chat about it, seriously, because I have many ghost stories myself of, like, seeing things. Yes, guys, I hope you guys have an awesome Tuesday. This will be posted on Wednesday, so I hope you guys have an awesome Wednesday, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good night, guys. Take care.